Hey, I took a shower. It's been a busy day. Took a shower. And I've just been sitting on my floor thinking and trying to process all the bills that have passed. And I mean, we had victories. There's bills that we pushed back on that didn't pass, that never made it out of the hearings. Some really big one, like law enforcement being the enforcement arm of public health care or mandatory adult vaccines, the COVID jab, to work in the state of California. Some really big ones did not make it. SB 866 didn't make it, but some really big ones did. And my brain is processing that and what it means for California. And then slightly taken aback on the reactions of people that support the bills and wondering, have you read it? Do you know what you're supporting? Or are you supporting it simply because the Democrats support it? And I'm not one to run around praising the Republican Party. Um, I think that conception is out there, like it's very, very public. I voted for Trump before, and I do align more with the Republican Party lately than the Democrat Party. But for me, the two-party system is part of the reason we're in this mess. And I am loyal to nobody but God. And I'll be one of the first to say that Trump's lost me. And so I wonder how many of how many people are left that can critically think and can deviate from that, or that are not doing hair trigger reactions because their party supports or is against something. So let's talk through a couple of the really bad bills that have gone through. AB 2098 that went through today. Basically, I have called it the commie bill since I heard about it end of January, early February. Been pushing back on this bill all year. This is the bill that basically codifies and makes law that doctors that deviate from the standard of care, that deviate from CDC policies, can lose their medical license. With COVID-19, we didn't have a standard of care for quite some time. CDC was taking crapshoots, and they were often wrong. And had we had this law in place in 2020 and 2021, we would have had a lot of medical doctors that would have lost their licenses for things that we now know don't work. And so the question is, would they get their licenses back now? Would there be, would they be reinstated? Would they get their money, lost wages back? There are people for whom the standard of care doesn't work. Maybe they have some kind of illness. Maybe they have allergies. Maybe there's a reason that they can't do standard of care, and it takes a medical doctor who knows their biology, that knows their medical background, to find a solution, to find something that works for them, because XYZ drug that's listed as the standard of care by CDC, they can't have. And so this squashes that. So this is basically bureaucrats and the government and people who have never met you dictating what the doctor can and cannot do for you. It just defies all informed consent, and it defies the Constitution. So there are so many things. This is going straight to court. So there's hope there, assuming, depending on the courts, but this is going straight to court. SB 107, the Gutton amendment that was brought through, was a Cal Fresh bill when it cleared the Senate in 2021. It was brought forward and amended with the Assembly this year, and was changed to gender affirming healthcare. And for most people who are marching on the LGBT bandwagon of transgender rights, they immediately say, of course we need this. But how many of you have read it? How many of you would be okay with your 12-year-olds starting hormone therapy as their body's developing, their brain hasn't fully, you need hormones to fully develop your brain. You need hormones to help build your bone mass and your bone density. You need hormones so that when you do become sexually active, your body knows how to orgasm. I mean, if we're going to get raw, I'm just going to go right into it. If you are saying that this bill is important for affirming and the mental health and helping somebody who feels like they're in the wrong body get into the right body, but you're allowing it for a child who is still developing, you are abusing them and you are setting them up for failure neurologically, biologically, and maybe sexually in the future, for even to be able to enjoy whatever new body part was created for them. Do you know the procedures? I mean, you're basically giving a child a mastectomy. You're taking skin from their arm to graft a penis so that they can have a new organ. The amount of adults that have come forward that have said that the complications that they have for the new organ that's created for them, you know, turning their penis inside out, and then they're still having hairs that grow and they end up with all kinds of infections because they have this hair that's now growing on the inside. Have you done your research when you say this is amazing? Yay, California. Because it's presented as trans rights, but what it's really doing is mutilating children. And so I'm all for that's maybe not the right choice of words. I fully support an adult who maybe has gone through mental health evaluations and believes that they're in the wrong body and decides to do this for themselves. My heart hurts for them. I may not agree with it, but I'm not going to get in the way of it. That's what you're doing as an adult with full informed consent. I hope they're giving you informed consent. But does a child have the ability to make that decision? Not to mention that this bill states that if a parent is saying, no, I don't think you're ready, I'm not going to sign up for this, the parent can go do it behind their back. So we're now grooming children to lie. They can do it behind their back, and the state will take them in. So if a child runs away from Arkansas to come here for gender affirming health care, they will not honor a warrant for the parents that are saying, please send our child home. They will not honor extradition. They will put them into our foster care system. Now, I was a foster kid and I was blessed with amazing foster parents, but I spent just enough time in the receiving home and in the system to tell you that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. So that's SB 107. So for those that are just knee-jerk reacting, saying, this is great, trans rights, read the bill. Look at your child. Look at your child. Where is their body development? What kind of repercussions neurologically, biologically, sexually is giving them hormone therapy and mutilating their body parts going to do for them long term? Have you looked at the statistics of how many people who have transitioned end up committing suicide down the road? Do you know that we are making a law that just look, do your research, okay? So this has nothing to do with my views on transgenderism. This has to do with development and mutilation and what I view to be as a human trafficking loophole. Then there's the, you can be sworn in as a law enforcement or officer without being a citizen of the United States. You simply need to say that you intend to go through citizenship. So there's, the list is long. There's the additional tracking system. We already have a tracking system for children with their vaccine status, but this is adding COVID to it. It's adding what ethnicity they are. So we are creating a system to allow for segregation because, people worked really hard to get rid of that. So now we're going to plug all that data in so that public health can run those data points because they're there to be trusted. So, and my mind's blanking right now. There's a lot of bills that have gone through that are just trash, and they make me concerned about living in this state, not necessarily for myself, but for my children, that, it's not just being aware of what they're being taught in school. It's being aware of what the conversations that their doctor's having with them. It's being aware of the conversations that a stranger is having with them, because frankly, California has set it up to where anybody under the guise of mental health could set it up to take your children. And I just am mentally processing that, because, you know, there's the constant question of, do we stay in California? Do we move? And so far, I don't feel like God's answered that question. You know, actually, I am feeling the nudge lately to stay, and I don't know for how long. And I'm just sitting here like, California's burning. It may, well, literally and figuratively, just the policies in California. You know, I'm working part-time now because inflation. Well, we couldn't survive in this house. We would lose this house if I wasn't working part-time. There's only so much my husband can do. What do I have him take a second or third job and then we never see him? I didn't marry him just so I could have a roof over my head. I married him because I actually like the man and I'd like to spend time with him. So now I'm working part-time, and it's just, yeah, so my brain is swirling. So I came on here because I was like, you know what? Probably not the only one. And I'm very much, you know, there's November. Elections are right around the corner. And I pray that everybody who's paying attention doesn't pull the cop out of there's no point in voting because elections are rigged. And I agree. Elections are rigged. And I know full well both sides use it. Elections have been rigged for 30, 40 years. But there's algorithms. And frankly, at this point, if you're going to whine, you should vote. If you're not voting, then you're allowing them to win, whether the election's rigged or not. So I hope that you're getting out there and you're meeting the candidates, even the ones for whom you don't support, and building those relationships. Denise said it today. I don't know if she was on a live or if she was speaking at the Capitol. I don't know. But she said, you know, a lot of the work that we did over the last couple of years was building relationships with legislatures and other elected officials. And why not get to meet them now and start having those conversations now? How would you vote on this? Are you paying attention on this? Can you look into this bill? Because this is the stuff they're pushing forward. Start building those relationships now. Back somebody, if your kids are in public school, pay attention to who's running for a school board. You know, do you know how many people are on school boards that don't even have children? That don't even have, or they have children, but they now are grandchildren. And so they're disconnected from what kids are facing now. Pay attention. I'm not giving up. I hope you're not giving up. I am processing it all, and I'm just going to kind of probably mentally process it over the weekend. I tend to, when I get hit like that and I'm just kind of stunned and don't know what to do next, I usually just quietly, I might talk to a few close people, but I pray and just figure out, okay, now what? What do we do, God? What's our next step? So I hope that you're taking the time to do that too, and having the conversations with people like, hey, have you read the bills that just passed? Have you actually taken a look? Do you understand the ramifications? And to get past the title of the bill and actually read the full context on the long-term consequences, because a lot of people get stuck at the title of the bill. And when I realize that people are doing that, I usually don't engage, because unless I can have a one-on-one conversation with them to talk through it, we're just going to get in an argument when one side is missing context. And I don't see the value in that, you know? So I encourage you to have those conversations with people. I encourage you to get some rest. I encourage you to pray, and take some time to figure out what's the next step. How can I get involved? And where do we go from here? So that's it. I'm going to take my freshly showered bed head, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something other than sit on the floor in my bedroom. You guys have a good night.